Welcome back, club members. In this episode, we are focusing on the topic of Extra Brut, or otherwise known as Ultra Brut, Kiri. Now, we've covered this topic once before, but I think it's really important to go back over it because there are some amazing Extra Brut champagnes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting category.
There is. It's a fantastic category. It's a hot category, and there's a vast array of amazing producers working using this category. So we want to present some of those to you.
So what does it mean? What is Extra Brut? What is Ultra Brut?
Technically, on a sugar scale, so you've got Brut, which is a category most people know, and that's between 6 and 12 grams of additional sugar added to the wine before it's finished. Ultra Brut, Brut Nature, or Extra Brut, which is what we're looking at, is between 0 and 6 grams of sugar. So it has to be less than 6 grams.
So we're talking about the dosage being the final part of influence the winemaker has. It's a little bit of sugar that's added just when that yeast comes out before the cork goes in, and it's purely to balance the acidity that's natural in the Champagne region. High levels of acidity, low levels of natural sugar in such a cool climate region.
That's right. And often winemakers will tell you when you're out there that the wine tells you what it needs. So they'll do a blind taste often from say 2 to 10 grams per sugar, and they'll just taste throughout them and find out which one sort of sits the best. It's a good way of doing it.
Yes, and we've had a movement down over time, but we've got 2 excellent examples this month of an Extra Brut champagne.
So our first house we're looking at today is Charles Collin, Champagne Charles Collin. Brand new.
That was very British, Kiri.
Is it?
Charles Collin.
Charles Collin. Charlie Collin. Brand new in Australia. We're super proud to be bringing this house to you direct from Emperor.
Yes.
They are a group of growers that started back in 1952 by the man Charles Collin himself. And back then they sort of rallied together to make their wines together. They now represent over 140 of these growers, so they are cooperative because they are owned by the growers, and they're based in the Côte de Bar.
Yeah, so down in the south of Champagne, they have 300 hectares under vine. So they choose the very best fruit for making their cuvées, and in particular, the Extra Brut. They're choosing the ripest parcels, some of the more mature parcels, some of the more quality parcels they're putting into this wine. So it's a very good example from the Maison.
Absolutely.
So our first Extra Brut for this month, which is coming out to the lovers and the connoisseurs, is the Charles Collin Extra Brut. It's just arrived in Australia. We're really excited about this house. The branding is beautiful, if we do say so ourselves.
Someone may have designed it.
And we have actually 100% Pinot Noir in this cuvée. So Blanc de Noirs, although it doesn't say that on the label.
Yeah, they used to have a little bit of Chardonnay in this, which changed up the aromatic profile and the palate, which was more sort of yellow fruits, but now we're seeing a lot more red fruit.
A lot more cherry.
Almost some blackcurrant in there as well, a little bit of that rose hip, which I picked up earlier, which is quite nice.
So we have a 4 gram dosage, so we have an Extra Brut falling within that 0 to 6 category. Now, when you have an Extra Brut wine, you are low levels of sugar, you're starting with acidity. Acidity will temper down the longer it spends aging on lees inside the winemaker's cellar. So we need time. And you know, you were saying earlier, Kiri, and this is really true, that the Extra Brut category is actually great value for the consumer because number 1, they need to choose the best parcels of fruit.
Yes.
Number 2, you've got that natural ripeness, but they will leave the Extra Brut in the cellar for an extended period of time so the acidity comes down. So we've got 4 years on this particular cuvée.
That's right. So you're going to get better quality parcels of fruit, riper because they have to have more potential alcohol from the sugar when they ferment, and obviously longer aging on lees, which makes a finer bubble. So all round better value. The
wine was very taut, very precise, and lots of that blackberry, cherry.
Yeah, it's my world of champagne. I love all that. You know, it's like raspberry ripple ice cream. It's sort of, I'm there.
Delicious. Our second Maison that we are featuring today is Laurent Perrier, and I think it's only fitting that we feature Laurent Perrier because
it's the most important.
They're one of the first to have created an Extra Brut or an Ultra Brut cuvée. Just a little bit about the house. Now we're talking about one of the Grand Marques of Champagne, founded in 1812. by Eugene Laurent and his beautiful wife Mathilde Emily Perrier, and she was actually one of the widows. So Eugene, passed away early in the piece, and Mathilde Emily really took on the maison and passed to her daughter Eugenie. And then it, struck difficult times in the war, and the house went to a very important woman, Marie-Louise Lançon de Nonancourt, if it gives you a clue of her pedigree.
Yes.
And she purchased the house for the intention of her sons. And Bernard de Nonancourt, who was her son, he was a very important man in Champagne because he fought in the resistance against Hitler, against Germany. And when he finished in the war and came back to the Maison, he took over the position of CEO and chairman of the house, and he ran the house, Kerry, for 50 years.
Wow. It's a long time.
It's a long time, and he was very instrumental in the growth of the house. Exported the house to 147 countries and brought the house to the number 3 selling champagne house in the world. So he was really responsible for the rise of this beautiful maison.
I love that. And he's worked so hard to do that. And they're very well deserving of where they are, from the quality of their cuvées that they make, from their La Cuvée right through to their Grand Siècle and everything in between. Their iconic rosé, of course, we can't not sort of skip past that. But the Ultra Brut sort of sits firmly in my heart as one of my favourite wines from the house, for sure.
And we have the Laurent Perrier Ultra Brut. Now, this was the first Ultra Brut or zero dosage cuvée that came out.
I totally love this wine.
I love this wine too.
Love it.
1981. Now, when I started in the champagne business 15 years ago,
I was 2.
Dosage was about, on average, 14 grams per litre.
Yes.
Now, this house were already making the Ultra Brut, and we're really the first in that category to bring it out as a special release and as a constant within their stable of cuvées.
The sans sucre.
Yeah, sans sucre. So no sugar whatsoever. So you can have an Extra Brut or an Ultra Brut, which can be anywhere from 2, 3, 4, up to 6 grams of sugar. But this is 0 added sugar, Kerry.
Yeah, so the difference between the last one we had, Charles Collin, which did actually have sugar added up to 4 grams. This has nothing. So as soon as fermentation finishes, in secondary fermentation known as prise de mousse, whatever's finished is finished. So they have to make sure when they're sourcing their parcels, they're of the utmost ripeness, as we mentioned as well before. They have to have that high natural sugar just to get the alcoholic fermentation, but also to have some left in that flavour and palate profile, but there's none actually visible on the palate, is there?
No, not at all, and it amazes me. Every time I have this wine, I think it's exceptional. I think Laurent Perrier absolutely nailed this cuvée. It is 6 years in the cellar though, so we've got a serious amount of time of aging.
In the cellar.
Great value. It's a beautiful wine. I actually think this is probably one of the best examples of a zero dosage cuvée available on the market.
Yeah.
So 6 years in the cellar, 0 dosage. The house always lead with Chardonnay, and again they've done so in this wine. Laurent Perrier is a maison known for freshness and elegance, and they're
which is just exemplified here.
located in the heart of the Toussaint-Marne. They lead with Chardonnay. They've got some beautiful parcels coming from the Côte de Blanc. So we've got 55% Chardonnay and 45% Pinot Noir, but you've got this ripeness of it, which is really quite a surprise. If you're expecting a zero dosage, it can be quite lean, can be quite crisp and taut, sometimes austere. There's none of that in this wine. You get some beautiful yellow fruit. You get some roundness on the palate. It's actually really rich and very delectable.
I think that can be the misconception. You're right, though, that it's super taut, it's too dry, it's bone dry, I'm not going to like it. But actually, when you just allow yourself to spend some time with it, it's really beautiful. And for me, it's one of my ideal sort of wines to start with if you're going to have some friends over and do something there.
So we've got a real comparison between the wines. We've got 100% Blanc de Noirs with Pinot Noir coming from the south of Champagne, who are famous for their red fruit. And we've got this beautiful zero dosage from Laurent Perrier. So up in the north with parcels coming from the Côte de Blanc. So really good juxtaposition between the two cuvées.
Yeah, completely different.
So we have 2 excellent examples of Extra Brut coming your way this month. We have the Charles Collin, which is 4 grams, 4 years in the cellar, coming from the south of Champagne, really focusing on that Pinot Noir fruit. It's a Blanc de Noir, although it doesn't say so on the label. So the south of Champagne and the Orbe is really famous for that ripe, red, juicy Pinot Noir fruit.
Yeah, all the soils there are quite different, so you get a bit more body and a bit more power as well. So.
And then the Laurent Perrier, which was the first to come out in 1981.
Yep.
0 dosage, 6 years in the cellar, beautiful maturity, amazing wine.
And you can see there that it actually does say Ultra Brut across the top, which is the name it's given for the wine. And then underneath you can see that it's Brut Nature, which means it's naturally the sugar that is finished at the end of fermentation.
But two great examples, two highly awarded wines, the Ultra Brut from Laurent Perrier being well regarded in the industry, and we have the Charles Collin. It took out the gold medal in the Gilbert and Gillard Awards. It took out the silver medal in the Vinali Internationals. It took out the silver in the International Wine Challenge and took out the bronze in the Decanter London Wine Awards. So, you know, two highly recognised Extra Brut champagnes, which we think you are going to love. Try it with some oysters, and if you can afford it,
Yeah.
a great tin of beluga caviar.
Oh, that would be my favorite. If I had to choose, I'd go for some Japanese with pickled ginger, some finger limes, all that lovely
sushi.
fresh flavour.
Amazing choices. Enjoy your wines for this month. We will see you on the next episode.
See you next month.